You talk about reclamation queen, all this and that. How do people start to shift away and reclaim their power, their divinity, when they're stuck in shame and guilt, which we know are just low consciousness fields that are very hard to get into a healing state, or at least a state where you move beyond your old belief systems?
Mhm. Yeah, so I have come to see a lot of the human journey, the heroine's journey, the hero's journey as, you know, a series of stages that become available when your system has the capacity
Mm,
to work with certain kinds of energies. So that's sort of like an esoteric way of saying that I look through the lens of the nervous system. That's my training. I was a neuroscience major before I was a psychiatrist, and it's a bias that I have, right? Um, we don't understand what the nervous system is. We really don't. And a lot of the biological assumptions that we made, collectively, scientifically, are now not necessarily holding up to scrutiny, right? So the notion that perhaps this system is like an electrical network that allows us to channel and move and interact with our electrical environment, to me is pretty compelling.
hmm.
And it seems like there are ways that you can order, harmonize, that you can bring resonance to this system. All that I know is that when you focus on grounding, right, that system, when you focus on bringing safety to that system, you have a far greater capacity to work with the energies of shame and guilt, like you're referencing. Because shame, for example, is such a powerful, energetic experience.
Hmm.
Literally, it's literally the energy that you feel in your inner scape, whether it's your heart racing or a sinking feeling, all of the psychological wires that are tripped that say, do anything to stop this, right? There's no witness consciousness. There's no part of you that is interacting with that as, a mother would a newborn, right? There is just a blending with that experience and the fight, flight, freeze, fawn that gets you from the place of feeling a little bit of it to not feeling it at all.
Yes.
Okay, so that defensive structure. So when your system is more grounded, when it is more safe, there's just a little bit of space that gets introduced. And often, it's like it takes a minute or two, right? But you'll eventually get to the place where you can watch yourself defending yourself, trying to prove something, trying to blame somebody, trying to be right about something. All of
Mm.
these primitive childhood defensive habits, you'll watch yourself do that. And there will come a moment where you have the impulse to do it and you choose not to.
Yes.
And instead, you choose something more playful. You laugh instead. You just turn the other direction. You close the computer instead of writing the shitty email, right? So, that to me, you could look at it through the psychological lens, through the emotional lens. And I have extraordinary colleagues in many arenas, like somatic experiencing, et cetera. There's, there's, there's many paths. But my bias is when your system is stable enough, you can figure it out. You're going to intuitively be led to exactly the modality that's perfect for you to help you build the soft skills of human relationship and feel safe in your body, in your relationships, in the world. And you're going to reclaim what in psychobiology is called neuroception.
Yeah.
So it is the capacity that you have to scan your environment for danger. And when that is informed by your past, by your trauma, by your habits, by your programming, you will perceive danger where there is not danger.
Hmm.
So, right, like I use the example of like if there's a chair in your dimly lit bedroom and you're lying in bed and it's got a pile of laundry on it, you might like, freak
Yeah.
out thinking there's an intruder. It's a pile of laundry. That whole biological response doesn't even make sense because it's not going on in that moment. And of course,
Hmm.
if we were to talk about romance partnership, the opposite also happens where you imagine something extraordinary, you idealize, you project this perfect mommy or daddy onto your partner, and you have a whole experience with them that is not actually grounded in who they are in front of you. Okay. So the reclamation of neuroception allows you to see with what I like to call sober eyes. It allows you to actually see what the hell is in front of you so that you have enough possession of your system to decide and choose in the moment. Okay. So I found that this requires an initiation. It
Hmm.
requires some transition from your childhood habits to your adult system. So an initiation typically brings you to the brink of your belief in your capacity and pushes you beyond that so that you could imagine, 4 days on a vision quest, I'm probably going to die. And then you don't die. And you have a whole new self concept that has to be born because you didn't die. And now you are the person who didn't die, who had that experience and didn't die, right? So this initiatory experience has to be elective. I think it has to actually tap into a pre-existing field of potentiality. And it has to be like time limited, right? So in my case, in the case of my approach and my program, it's 6 weeks. Okay. So it's a container, right? There's something that you're entering and you're going to exit it. And that's psychologically very important, right? Like anybody who's
Hmm.
been through a trial, whether it's childbirth or something else, you want to know, when is it over? Like
Right.
when is it going to be done? And that allows you to give more of your attention, your focus, and your intention to the experience as it's happening. So I found that in this initiatory experience, you show up for yourself and your self-care at a level that you would otherwise make a million excuses not to. And that somehow that focus on yourself, like as if you were that little newborn baby that you were in charge of taking care of, it's almost like, if you want to get into, some of these more trauma-based constructs, it's almost like the good father has shown up inside of you, right?
Right.
It's this energy of, I'm here. It's okay. I've got this. Here's what we're going to do. Okay.
Right.
And when that happens on a psychological level, on a biological level, and again, my protocol, it's like dietary, it's a few minutes of contemplative practice, and it's some detox. This is not like some very elaborate, complex thing. And it doesn't really matter because it has the components that I'm referencing. And it seems to confer to the systems of those who engage this field this shift out of the child-like stress physiology into whatever that safety signal is, whatever that inner okayness is, whatever that like slower, softer, more quiet version of your system allows for you to see now. So sometimes what it allows for you to see is how you've been acting in your marriage. It allows you to see how you've been behaving as a mother. It allows you to see like how you've been betraying yourself, how you've been accepting and settling, how you've been in these habits of self-betrayal and in these habits of compromise and in these habits of self-rejection.
Hmm.
And you actually start to develop the capacity to interest yourself in that rather than defend against, how it is that you are being experienced as wrong and bad. And so that's where, like, after this initiation, the relational work, honestly, most of it is about neutralizing rejection, right? Like rejection of self, rejection of other, and resolving superiority. So in
Yeah.
these, psycho spiritual, psycho emotional efforts, so much more is possible when you have that sound and safe nervous system capacity that allows you not only to own your shit, but also to expand and hold more pleasure. Because I'm one of many, many, many women, who have a habit of expanding into something amazing and then manifesting an accident, manifesting, some sort of like worry, or just creating, like, literally, I'll cook up drama like you can't imagine. I mean, I will literally cook it up out of nowhere because I don't know how to hold pleasure, expansion, joy in my system, sometimes for longer than a few minutes, let alone weeks and months and years. So this process again, I think, is anchored in a system that can allow for the discomfort of some of these states to alchemize, like to transform,
Mm.
transmute.
Yeah, when I hear this, it really does tie back to the central nervous system, right? That balance of it. So often we stay in this highly activated sympathetic response, a state where we are just knee-jerk reactions. Everything's the end of the world. There's always a saber-toothed tiger within a few feet of me, and I can't make the right decisions based off it or even hold that space to take it. What I've learned in speaking to so many people that are, seem so confident and calm isn't that they don't have knee-jerk reactions to information. It's that they're able to pause, be in a balanced state where they're not overly sympathetic, and just take it in, be introspective, and say, is that truly a saber-toothed tiger that I need to start running in fear for my life? Or is that just information that is somewhat benign and I can cope with it better?